This interview is for information only and should not be considered as investment advice or a recommendation to buy shares in the company featured. Welcome to this Stock Box interview. Robin Birchall, the CEO of Giyani Metals, listed on the TSXV, is with us today. Now, Robin, we spoke last time in January, and you mentioned the next 5 to 6 months would be very busy, with about 10 announcements due, I think you said. So there has been a lot of news. Did you make the Big 10?
Good morning, Mark. Thanks for having me this morning. We've done, I think, around about 12 announcements. I mean, a few of them were just small things, but yeah, we've pretty much hit most of our targets for the first 5-6 months here of the year, and as you say, been very, very busy.
Okay, that's good. Now, I remember last time you were looking out for the ESIA, and you mentioned news on potential buyers. So what can you tell us, an update on those two things, please?
Yeah, well, just starting with the potential buyers. So we have signed an agreement, NDA, with Volkswagen. Obviously, that's extremely important. That agreement is we're entering their tier 2 supplier chain and the accreditation for it. We've had 3 or 4 meetings with them, and we would expect in the not too distant future to be supplying them with some initial crystals. I think that's coming in the next 2 or 3 weeks, but I just need to catch up with the operational team on that. And then on ESIA, progressing nicely. We haven't had anything announceable, but we're still on track. I was talking to the team yesterday in our weekly management meeting. Still on track for kind of submission to the Department of Environmental Affairs in August. They have, by the way, in Botswana, they've legislated that they have shortened the review period to speed up the whole environmental process period. So I don't know if we'll really benefit from that. I would imagine it's kind of 2 steps forward, 1 step backwards kind of thing with that because of COVID. They're alternating in the office, so things are a little bit slower because of that.
I know you said that was the key thing that you were looking out for, and really it could be transformational for the company when that comes through.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, look, we have some other key things. The feasibility study, which is really very important and is progressing quite nicely. There's a few things I think we're going to talk about just on that in a minute.
Okay, yeah, well, let's move on to the project, starting with the Cahill Manganese project. You've been busy with a 3,000 metre drilling programme completed earlier in the year, and you've updated the metallurgical test work at Cahill. Can you expand on these 2 key activities completed for the project so far?
Sure, absolutely. So we have completed the resource drilling, which will then become the reserve. Almost all of the samples have been assayed by SGS in South Africa now, and they're working on the actual reserve. I think we've got about 2 weeks to 3 weeks left, and then we'll be able to get the initial reserve out, which is great news. And sorry, just remind me of the second question.
About the Met test work as well.
Oh yeah, sorry, on the Met test work. Yeah, so we announced something on that recently, and basically we have completed steps 2, 3, and 4. We are working on steps 5 and 6 at the moment, and then once we've completed all those, we go back to the beginning and do the comminution testing. So we've done the leach testing, we've done the alumina and iron precipitation, and we've done the base metal precipitation, all of which have come out just fine. Very happy with the results from that. And we are now in the solvent extraction and the crystallization. We have actually run through solvent extraction and crystallization and produced some crystals, but we're kind of optimizing that is the right word at the moment.
Okay. Now, also last time we spoke, I remember you mentioned updating the PEA, which would help increase the resource size and which in turn would increase the NAV. This has happened as planned, I believe. What are the key points?
On that. So that's a little bit of a while ago now. It's probably about 2 months ago. We had a 400 of almost 500,000 ton increase in the resource to 1.7 million tons. I think grade was off like maybe 1%. So we're very happy with that. And NAV was up by 40 million Canadian. So about a little bit more, 10 to 12% increase. So yeah, extremely happy with that. That we were able to, we did not include all of the drill results from the reserve drilling in that. We included some because we had some gaps that in the previous resource. So we filled in some of those gaps. And then obviously with the reserve coming shortly, that'll be updated again.
Okay, okay. So finally on Cahill then, what's the roadmap looking like for the rest of this year?
Well, the roadmap again is pretty busy. So we are in the middle of the exploration extension drilling at the moment. So that should be finished in 2 to 3 weeks' time. We'll announce that. We have completed we've completed all of the geotechnical and hydrological diamond drilling. Once we finish the extension exploration, we're more or less done with the field work at Cahill, and then it goes really into the desk work on the feasibility.
Okay, okay, good. So another active 6 months ahead then.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and then if we talk about Otse as well, if you want me to talk a little bit about that. So yeah, what happens is, so it's all scheduled in that right now we're doing the full IP program. We did a little test program to choose which method. That started, I think, last week. That IP program, when that's finished, the drilling at Cahill Extension should be completed, and then we'll move the drills over to Otse, and we'll start the drilling at Otse.
Okay, okay. So on Otse then, yeah, you've got more activities planned. Does the prospect have potential to be Cahill number 2?
Yeah, absolutely. I would probably better actually than Cahill. We need to see how much in total volume there would be of ore, but the ore is a higher quality than at Cahill. It's a higher grade, but considerably higher, probably about 10 percentage points higher. And for example, in the deleterious elements, it's got a much lower iron ratio. I can't really speak for the other, like chrome and nickel and cobalt and stuff, but on iron ratio the manganese iron ratio is much higher. It's like 8 to 1 at Cahill, and it's like 20 to 1 at Otse. So yeah, I mean, we're very excited about that. We haven't spoken much about it yet. We want to do that initial IP. That once we see the IP, we'll have a good idea of how big, what the volumetrics can possibly be.
Okay, okay. So what can investors look out for in the near term? What are the key things, do you think?
Yeah, reserve is really important. Then we should have the completion of the exploration drilling at Cahill, and the commencement and the completion of the drilling at Otse. And then one thing we haven't discussed is demonstration plant. We should be announcing the demonstration plant in the very near future. I have a call with the COO sometime this week. He's got a little bit of time off this week, but we plan to speak about, I think we're almost final on the contract. And then we have to put it to the board and get board approval for the expenditure, because for us it's a relatively large expenditure. You know, we've been guiding the market towards a kind of $1.5 to $2 million kind of range. We'll see where we come out on that, but that has been a huge amount of work in a very short period of time. We've probably done it in about 3 months, and if you look at our competitors, you know, they've been at it for 18 months. So I'm pretty pleased with the progress.
Okay, yes, I do remember you talking about the demonstration plant last time. So that's progressing quite well then, as far as you're concerned.
Yeah, it's going well. I mean, look, it's a lot of work. So, and it kind of connects together with the feasibility. So, yeah, I'm pretty pleased. We should have something out pretty soon on that.
Okay, okay, good. I wonder if it's worth just finishing just a few words on manganese and its uses, because it's perhaps not as understood, but it's very important, isn't it? I understand, in batteries, particularly with the EV revolution. And I do recall something you said last time, which was Tesla alone are looking for 25 times what Giyani could in theory produce. So can you just remind us of manganese's usage?
That could be developed a little bit even more, because Volkswagen's come out and down the same route. There's the primary battery is the nickel manganese cobalt battery. That's going to be the bulk of the market, probably between 50 and 75% going forward for the next 10 years. So it's safe, reliable, it has good energy density, et cetera, and it's good for multiple kind of applications. But they're also looking at the nickel manganese oxide battery, And that's both Tesla and Volkswagen are advancing that, and it's really a matter of price. Our material sells currently at on a see-through metal price of about $3,000 a ton. I'm not exactly sure what nickel's like 12 or 15 or something like that, and cobalt's 30 plus 30, 40,000. Well, if you can remove the $30,000 to $40,000 a ton component of that, you're going to significantly reduce your cost of the battery pack. So obviously they're looking at that pretty carefully. But yeah, I mean, the market is, well, I did a fireside chat with the CEO of Lithium Americas and with New Material Resources, which is the graphite in in Madagascar. And both of the other companies said something we agree with is that this is really the calm before the storm for the industry side of the market, and we think the stock market doesn't realize that. The demand factor is really ramping up right now, and that's why the likes of Volkswagen, a huge company, we're talking to a relatively small company like this, because they're worried not about how much they pay or what they can buy. They're worried about if they can get any, and that's a serious concern. And they definitely don't want China in their supply chain because they're worried about them. So yeah, I mean, it's a positive development for us. All of our sector has been traded off a little bit over the last 3 or 4 months. Really understand that, given what the real industrial market demand is for our products.
Okay, good. No, it's good to hear that. And yeah, your partnership there, or potential partnership with Volkswagen, you're setting up some crystals. That is significant. That's it's a really good. And as you say, maybe it's just the calm before the storm, and it's all going to take off. But Robin Birchall, the CEO of Giyani Metals, thank you very much for your time, just giving us that update on the company and the activities.
Yeah, super, Mark. Thanks very much. And I'm hoping very soon we can do this in person.
Indeed, I hope so.
Cheers.
Thank you for listening to this Stockbox interview. For more information, interviews and videos, visit our website at stockboxmedia.com or give us a follow on Twitter by searching @StockboxMedia.